This is such a wonderful interview that I have with Kiyana, who speaks to both of her birthing experiences. The conversation gets rolling right away with Kiyana's beautiful understanding and gratitude for her first birth experience and how it shaped the way her second baby was brought into the world. In this conversation, Kiyana dives into being the only girl in a family of six children and taking on the role of matriarch quite soon, meeting her partner and getting pregnant, then having to navigate HG in that first pregnancy, taking castor oil on her own accord, which caused her to become dehydrated and transferring for fluids, transitioning from 4 centimeters to 9 centimeters after receiving fluids at the hospital and birthing her baby easefully with positive support from the medical staff, suspecting she was pregnant with her second baby when her milk supply started to dry up around 9 months postpartum, knowing that this second baby would be born at home so she could have the birth that she truly wanted, leaning into the trust that everything would work out for her and being deeply connected to gratitude before she began her birth process, moving through a pleasurable birthing experience and birthing her baby while standing at the bathroom sink, and a quick little chat about the importance of sharing the stories of Black women birthing in their power. Kiyana's story is amazing proof that you can create the birth experience that you want by accepting, trusting, and holding gratitude for all that you are doing in those moments, and that birthing in pleasure is completely possible. Hello, Kiyana. Welcome to the Free Birthing in Color movement. I am so grateful to have you here to share your birth stories.
Thank you. Good to be here. Good to be here. So excited to be a part of this space and share my story. Yeah,
Good. Oh, yay. That's what I'm looking for. And yeah, I'm just always in awe of the women that I speak with and how they tell their stories. And you have two children. One of them was not birthed at home in your power, and the second baby was birthed free of the medical system. And so I love hearing these really beautiful stories of women, you know, only knowing what they know with their first children and then doing all the learning, the digging, the unlearning, the education, and all of these things, and whatever else comes to them to step them into a newer way of being, and then bringing their babies into the world with that present energy. So I'm really excited to hear how your two birth stories have shifted and changed throughout your journey of mothering.
yeah, it's been a journey for sure. I will say so. My first child it started out as a home birth. I've always pretty much been this very radical type individual that
Mhm,
wants to do things my way.
mhm,
And I was so grateful that my first birth turned out the way that it did because it
mhm,
really gave me space for my second birth to be what it was.
mhm.
And I just learned it was a learning process for both
Yeah.
pregnancies, both deliveries or, you
Mhm,
know, it was really empowering. And even my first birth, I remember being so excited and just like, okay, what is this gonna feel like? What's it gonna look like? And I come from very for lack of better words, strong roots. We'll say strong roots. And so my family was very supportive. My partner's family was also very supportive. And so I had a what they call a lay midwife, but she's an elder midwife in my community. And so I felt supported. That wasn't the thing. I think
mhm,
that when it came time to actually birth,
mm,
it was just a journey. I was in
mhm.
prodromal labor for a very long time. I didn't even
Right.
know what prodromal labor was.
Right. I'm just
Uh,
gonna stop you there before we
okay,
get
okay,
deeper
yeah, because
into
I can
that.
go
Yeah.
break it down now.
Before we get deeper into that story, let me just ask you these two questions, and
Yeah,
then you can lay it all out, the first and the second birth, because I love where this is going, this conversation, and how you're saying, you had so much learning and you're grateful for your first birth. And I love when women say that, because it is a space to be grateful for all of the experiences that you've had. But pulling back a second, you were speaking to you have very deep roots, and I would love to know what is your ancestry and lineage that you're passing on to your children.
for sure. So, Both my mother and my father biologically they come from indigenous tribes here in America. I believe my mother's side is Sioux, and my father's side, I actually cannot even pronounce their tribe. And it's really cool. My great grandmother got recognized by the state of Virginia, which is where I'm originally from.
Mhm.
I've been many places, though. I've been raised a lot of different places, but Virginia is where my roots stem from. And
Mhm.
right there on the bay in that Hampton Roads area, a lot of us are out there from indigenous tribes, don't know it. But my great grandmother, who's passed on now, got recognized by the state of Virginia for just being an elder. She passed
Mhm.
when she was about 93 or 94,
Mhm.
and just being kind of one of the long lasting original people from that area and from that North Carolina region. So that's
Mhm.
pretty cool. And my roots have been expanded by my
Mhm.
partner. His name is Kwaku. And yeah, it's been amazing. He has roots here in Atlanta,
Mhm.
and his family practices, just very much spirituality, all the
Mhm.
things that come with that, the crystals, the
Mhm.
oracles, the prayer, the meditation. Um,
Mhm.
and so, yeah, we're here. That's pretty much the energy that I'm passing on to
Mhm.
children, that they come from the land,
Yeah.
and they also have tools at their disposal as they
Mhm.
navigate this place. So, yeah,
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, the next, I just want to go straight into it because we already touched on it a bit, but where does your motherhood journey begin?
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. I feel like I've always been a mother. I
Mm.
felt like it was an assignment given to me when I came into this life.
Mm.
Um, I, it really started honestly with my siblings. I was the only girl. My mother married a man back then, who she's now divorced from, but it was three. He had three boys. My
Mhm.
mother had three children of her own. I was the only girl. So we were kind of like the Brady Bunch, but I was the only girl.
Yeah.
And so and I also was the second oldest. So
Okay.
it was kind of just known that I would take on a matriarch role. And I come from a line of matriarchs. And yeah, so that's really where it started. And I got my blueprint from. And then I ended up getting into a relationship, a very long-term relationship, um, straight at the start of college, coming out of high school.
Mm.
And he was 15 years my senior, and he had two children that were 6 and 8.
Mhm.
And I kind of raised them as well. Like, I became their bonus mom,
Right.
and they gave me the opportunity to really just see the practical side of motherhood. Like, okay, this is going to take discipline. You got to get up, you got to do this, you got to cook, you got to clean, those practical things that come with motherhood. So
Mhm.
I was fortunate to experience that at that time. And then when he and I separated, and, at that time, they kind of became my godchildren more so.
Okay.
Um, a couple of years had passed, and I met Kwaku, and we right out the bat had children. And it's
Mm.
so crazy because I knew seeing him that I would
Mhm.
have children with him. It was no
Okay.
doubt about it. And people be like, this crazy woman. And and so that's really where it began. I remember being in this kind of transitional period of like finding myself. I was around
Mm.
20, I'd say really 23 to 26. I
Okay.
was really just trying to figure out, what do I want to do? I went and became a teacher and
Mm.
was doing all the things. I actually originally started in the medical system. I
Okay.
remember being accepted by a school of medicine in Grenada, St. George's, and it was really, really cool. And when it came time to go, I was like, no, no, no. And I'm so grateful that that happened to me, because if it wasn't for that transition, like going into like the free birthing space and the home birthing space and now the doula space, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have that kind of like, I guess, medical knowledge. But then also, like, I'm happy I didn't go into that realm because I wanted to be a healer. Like, I wanted to
Mm,
help facilitate people's healing. And I knew
right.
that wasn't the system for me. So I decided to do it through education, through science education, all the things. And so it was really
Hmm.
cool being a teacher for a little while. But when I got pregnant, I said, I take care of everybody else's children. I'm going to dedicate this fully to
Mm.
my children.
Oh, I love
So,
that.
yeah.
Wow. So then what was that first pregnancy like? Because you said you had just met your partner. So did you get pregnant like kind of immediately, or did you have
Uh,
a bit of time
we had
between the
some
two of
time.
you? Okay, you had time. Okay.
We had a little bit of time, but what is time,
Okay.
right? We were uh just really, really cool.
Hmm.
And I had never experienced that, not even in the last relationship with someone that I could really just be fully authentic, unfiltered, unapologetic. Like I was really just so connected right off the bat. And it felt like I'd known him for years. And when I met his family, we had so many congruencies like in us. Like his sister's name is Ayana. And my
Oh,
name is Kiyana, and,
wow.
it's amazing, and I'm so into what I'm into, and she's so into what she's into, like, she's a lactation consultant,
Mm,
and it's just, like, the congruencies, his mother, his father, like, everybody just really his tribe really just welcomed me with
mhm,
open arms, and then when our families kind of got together, it was all love and just
mhm.
beautiful, and
Oh,
so shortly after um, I so he's into music as well and a lot of things, but he he just kind of pushed me to be creative.
mhm.
But with that creative energy, we created a baby.
Yeah. The ultimate creation energy.
Indeed, indeed. Oh goodness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Uh,
so it
and
was
was that really surprising, or did you just kind of feel like, even though it was soon, like, oh, this just kind of fits in our life where we are right now?
that's how it was. I know that it was definitely probably not on his radar
Mm,
because we were just really having a good time and
mm,
doing all the things, and when it came about that I was pregnant, he just really, like, shifted, and when he
mhm.
shifted, it was a transitional period for sure, but when he transitioned and I just was like, "Okay, I'm working, the school year is about to be over," and I
Mhm.
really was like, "I'm not going back into a classroom," like, I had HG,
Okay.
um, hyperemesis gravidarum, so I was really sick, actually.
Mm,
And I can't even say I was sick, I was detoxifying. I was
mhm.
detoxing all of the shenanigans, all of the just the ridiculousness that I had accumulated in life up until
Right.
that point.
Mhm.
So, it was making space for my womb, like,
Right.
it was making space for this child, and that was my introduction into motherhood, like, it wasn't gonna be peaches and cream, it wasn't gonna be
Mm,
this idealism that we see so many women put in social media and
yeah.
all this. I was like, "This is nothing that I thought it
Yeah.
was gonna be." Like,
Yeah.
I was throwing up every day and, like, not able to eat. I'd lost so much weight,
Mm,
and but everybody kept saying I look so gorgeous. They were, "Oh, you're so gorgeous," and I just like, I feel like crap, like,
mhm.
excuse my language, I feel like shit, like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, save me." So,
Yeah.
I struggled with that, and when it was time when I was getting later into the pregnancy, like, we had travel, we were in where do we go? Jamaica, Belize, like
Oh,
we're very much
wow.
travelers. And
Okay.
so when I was there, I felt amazing. The sun was hitting different, the fruit was hitting different, like everything was hitting different. And when I came back home, I just felt the difference in the vibration.
Mm.
And I just was struggling through the whole pregnancy. So by the end of it, I was ready for that child to come out. I
Right.
was like, "It's time for her to come out," because I
Right. And during your pregnancy journey, were you seeing any medical providers?
I was, and
Yeah.
so I had found through word of mouth, through sister friends and also other home birthers, they're like, "If you're gonna have an OBGYN, this is who you should go to." It was an establishment ran by, really midwives, but the overhead was Black men, so for some reason, that made me psychologically more comfortable, and it was a really good experience. I also had a midwife, the lay midwife, elder midwife, and honestly, I'm glad I had both because at a certain point in my journey, the midwife was pissing me off. Like, it was just I was struggling with the HG, so
Mhm.
my blood levels, platelets were kinda all over the place, but it didn't stress me out. I was like, "I'm gonna be fine," but it was
Right.
kind of like convincing somebody else to
Oh,
have faith
yeah.
in me.
Right, right, right.
And
Okay.
so and then when they have their whatever, it naturally kind of filters to your support system, whoever that may be. So,
Right.
um, but then I went to the OB. He's like, "Listen, you're fine." Like it was just so like blunt, like, "Don't worry, you're fine." And when he
Okay.
said that, I felt great. Fast forward, I'm excited. She's coming. Her name is Lumini. She'll be 2 in August. And man, I just was so ecstatic. My mother, she was coming in, which was stressing me out, honestly, because I was like, she had to fly in and
Okay.
all the things. And so all the Braxton Hicks were there. And then I really started to feel real contractions. And I was like, okay, baby's going to be coming. I thought it was going to be okay, having contractions, doing all the woo ha, baby will be here, boom, boom. And it didn't happen that way. Um, I remember being in my apartment and it was all set up and decorated. We had blessing way ceremonies in the women in our family and in our tribe. So it was all still set up from the blessing way and it was beautiful and all the flowers and candles. So I felt warm in my space, but I felt rushed because I knew like my mom had to come and go. I wanted her to be here. We were in the house for days and I was laboring and it was uncomfortable and it was so many things happening. And looking back, I could have had a doula and the doula probably would have told me like it's all right, just continue to relax. Don't worry about anybody else. But I didn't have that. I just had the mothers who were my doula and I had Kwaku it was his first child. And yeah, I labored. I took oh gosh, this is where I really went wrong. I took castor oil and
Was that by the recommendation of your midwife, or did
no,
you
by
just
the
think of it
recommendation to me.
of you? Okay.
Because again, I didn't know that, you should probably wait, like, if you're in prodromal labor to do something like that, or else
Mm,
I had HG, that's another factor, dehydration. So I went into dehydration, that's what ended up
mm,
happening. I started actually going into active labor, but from a standpoint of dehydration.
right. Yeah.
And yeah, I called the midwife. I'm like, "I have not slept. My lips are chapped." I didn't even tell her I took the castor oil. I was just like, "I don't know what's happening to me." And she came in there. She looked at me, and I'm grateful that she did. She looked at me. She said, "This is what, you know, if you feel like you need to go get some IV fluids, let's do it." And that's what carried me. I hopped in the car, everybody packed up after days of being in the house laboring, and it was fun. It wasn't all crazy. But I made the choice. I also did not walk outside. I didn't do any of that. I was staying on like the second floor of an apartment building. So I don't know why. I just was confined to the house. And I thought if I stay confined to the house, like it'll make baby come faster. No. And so actually she checked me. I was 4 centimeters. I said, and cause she might as well told me I had never labored. And I said, "Imma go. I'm just gonna go." I knew of the hospital I wanted to go to who supported more holistic birthing styles. They're more aligned to whatever your birth plan is. Um, there's no rush, no pressure. So I went. I had a great experience. I had a great experience. I was screaming for an epidural. Oh, have mercy. screaming and didn't get it, thank goodness. And as a matter of fact, just the transition from the house to the car to the hospital and into a triage slash a room, I
Mhm.
had progressed from 4 centimeters to 9 centimeters through two IV fluid bags. I just knew,
Right.
like, my body knew, I knew, I just
Mm.
needed some hydration. Like, that's all I could think of. I wouldn't think about nothing, the baby coming, none of that. I was like,
Mhm.
something was loud in my head, like, "Go get some fluids. Go get some fluids." Because if I would drink it, it would just come back up.
Right, right,
Like,
right.
"Okay, Imma get fluids." And soon as I went through those 2 bags in, like, 30 minutes,
Yeah.
I was 9 centimeters and grunting, and I hadn't even made it on the bed yet. Like, I was just
Okay.
grunting.
Yeah, your body was really craving that.
It
Wow.
was ready. It was like I was ripe, I was ready. I
Mhm.
just did not know, like,
Mhm.
"Oh, maybe I shouldn't have done the castor oil in that way," but that's okay.
Mhm.
I still had the birth, and I still, like, positioning, I didn't care what they was talking about. I don't know what the hell they was talking about, the medical people or any of that. The nurses were really cool. They set up a diffuser of lavender for me. It was really cool.
Mhm.
But I was focused. Like, when I felt that bowling ball sensation
Mhm.
and the grunting started, and I didn't even make it to that bed, I said, "I had this baby on the floor," like, and I was calm, like, I bought
Yeah.
my blanket from home, and I just, like, cocooned myself, and I was just breathing, and I knew, like, you breathe the baby out, you're not pushing, you're just gonna breathe. Like, I didn't think about anything except that my portal was opening.
Right.
And I was like, "I have to relax. I have energy. I have fluid. I have electrolytes." I felt like somebody shot me up with nitrous. I was like, and she was coming,
Yeah.
and I climbed on that bed. I got on my knees, and I just relaxed. The midwife, who happened to be she looked like me, first of all. She looked like
Mm.
me, and she looked like my partner. She was in her 30s. The doctor wasn't even there. He wasn't even in the room. He was on FaceTime.
Okay.
Like, that was a blessing, and she was from my hometown.
Nice.
I
So this
said,
wasn't your previous midwife. This was the
"No,
midwife that you had. She wasn't affiliated with the hospital at all.
at all.
No.
No."
Okay. So she didn't
Mhm.
come with you, but she sent you there, and then you had this other midwife who was part of the hospital, but was like a blessing for you.
A blessing, and
Okay.
when I was looking at her, I'm like, "She literally looks like if I had a sister." Like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, and then she told me that she was from where I was from, and I
Mhm.
just that even gave me more confirmation that I'm
Mhm.
supported. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing to fear, like,
Yeah.
just relax and continue to do what you're doing.
Mhm.
And I remember one lady, she came in, she checked me, she was like, "Oh, you're 9 centimeters." She was like, "But, you'll have some time or whatever." I didn't care what she said. After she checked me and walked out, I was still standing up, mind
Yeah.
you. I
Mm.
got on that bed and I put that blanket around me and I got on my knees and I was holding on to the back of the bed on my knees.
Mhm.
And she just asked me, she said, "Can you put one knee up?" She said, "Is that comfortable?" I said, "Absolutely." And I was just breathing. And my mother,
Mm.
I remember my mother, she was like, "Are you pushing Kiyana?" I was like, I didn't say nothing. When I tell you I had stopped talking to people,
Mhm.
I was in my element. The only thing I said to my mom, I said, "I'm in flow."
Oh.
I was like, "I'm in flow." And that was it, and next thing I know, I was just the waves were coming through my body, they were
Mm.
coming through my body, and her head was descending down, and the baby came out, and I
Mm.
remember I had took something I took a microdose of something because when I came in, I was hysterical,
Yeah.
and it was like, I didn't want to be numb, I just wanted to calm down.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mentally, if I had a joint, I probably would have smoked a joint because,
Mhm.
like, my
Yeah.
mind was just racing,
Okay. Yeah.
and she came, and it was beautiful, and I remember just saying, "Oh, shit, it's a girl, like, I can't believe I did this." That's, like, all I just kept saying. I mean, it was just, like, phenomenal,
Mm. Yeah.
but it still wasn't the birth I wanted.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Considering it being, a birth, a planned home birth where you did have a midwife that was working free of the system, and then still transferring into the system, you were pretty fortunate by the way that you were treated because a lot of women that have that similar scenario to you, planning their home birth and yeah, out of system, then they transfer for whatever reason that it may be.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're not treated as graciously. They don't have, depending on the staff members, it's that game of like Russian roulette. Who's going to be there? How are they going to treat me? And that's
Yeah.
really beautiful to hear that you had support staff that was there that were actually kind to you and, weren't telling you, forcing you on your back, telling you you can't do this, trying to make you do things you didn't want, giving you an epidural, even though you were saying, you wanted one and you're grateful
Mm.
you didn't have it. So, yeah, all things considered, for that birth ending up being in a medical setting, it does sound like it was pretty just straightforward, easy, beautiful, and you were still had most of your power that you were claiming in that experience. So that's really beautiful to hear. And then also it's really beautiful to hear you say that it was fine, but it wasn't, the full peak experience of what I wanted.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I remember it was Kwaku that stepped in, and why I think it's important if it is your first baby, like if you're not free birthing or whatever, like
Mhm,
to have somebody to bring you back to
mhm.
like source to where you started, to your
Yeah.
intention. Because he looked at me and clearly told me, he said, "We did not come here for that." And when
Mm,
he said that with his voice and his
mhm,
contentness in his voice and just like, "No, we didn't
mm.
come here." I was just like,
For the
"Okay."
epidural, you mean?
I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we didn't come here for that."
Yeah. Mhm.
Like, it was so clear, and I was so far along, I was like, "Yeah, we didn't come here for that."
Yeah, and that's what you
So,
need is somebody that will be in your corner because 'cause you're in such a different mental state, you're not even in this world. You just need that one person to bring you back and say, "Hey, nope, you're deviating from the plan a little bit. I know you got this. Let's just stick it out." So that's so beautiful that your partner was able to be that for you.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful, and I just remember when I got pregnant for the second time so soon after. So my second child is a boy.
Mhm.
His name is Ethereal.
Oh, wow.
And he is 7 months now, and I
Okay.
believe they're, like, 14 months apart.
Okay. Can I just ask quickly with the rest of this birth story of the first babe, how was it birthing your placenta? And what was your breastfeeding and postpartum experience like with this first child?
Yeah, for sure. So, my placenta came right out, and
Mm,
this is what I had found about my body. I can't speak for all women's bodies, but, um, because of the positioning that I was in
mhm,
and my knees, like, I was literally erect holding on to the back of the bed as it was sitting straight up, and I was
mhm,
right on my knees.
mhm.
I There was no hunching, no anything. The placenta came right out after, it just dropped out. And I
Okay.
had a
Yeah.
pretty short cord, so it came out and like immediately. And
Mm,
in terms of the breastfeeding, breastfeeding was a journey that nobody prepared me for.
okay.
Whew, but I loved it. Like once I got past the first really the first month, I was in my groove, but I
Okay.
was also supported because, like I said, my sister-in-law, she's a lactation consultant. She
Mhm.
just was reassuring to me, and then other women that I'm surrounded by, they
Okay.
breastfeed, like my mother breastfed, so they're all just like, "It's gonna hurt. It's gonna
Mm,
hurt, and once you get past the thinking that it's gonna feel good, it'll feel good, but for now, it's gonna hurt, and that's
okay.
okay." And I learned her, like, I learned the baby, I learned how she held her mouth, I
Mm,
learned how I held my breast and assisted and facilitate, like, it was such a learning process,
yeah.
and I think that when I let go of the idea that it would be easy,
Mm,
it became easy,
okay.
and that was really profound for me at that time in my life, like,
Mhm.
"Oh, this is, you know, this is not gonna be an easy journey." even with breastfeeding, even with it's not meant to be an easy thing.
Mm,
But it is gonna be worthwhile. And
right.
I'm like, "Okay." So,
Hmm.
it was beautiful, and she nursed. She still tries to nurse. I'm like, you know, and she doesn't know how to latch anymore. That's the other thing. She doesn't know how to
Okay.
latch anymore. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But she
So
still
then,
drinks milk.
oh,
Yeah.
pardon?
I said, "But she still drinks milk."
Yeah. Good.
Mhm.
Wonderful. So then, because your babies are quite close together, um, with this second pregnancy, did you breastfeed while you were growing in that pregnancy as well? And what was that kind of journey for you then going from having that hospital birth where you thought, okay, that was fine, but it wasn't all that I wanted? Where did the idea come to, I'm just going to do it by myself and have a family birth?
Well, I did breastfeed. I nursed the whole way.
Mm.
And nursing actually showed me that I was pregnant because I said something's going on with my milk supply. Like
Ah,
I've
okay.
been having milk jugs, like no issues from the jump. Like I had a
Mm-hmm.
storage full, like it was not a problem to nurse her and then also pump
Mm.
2 full bottles. Like
Wow.
I was really, really flowing, and I blame it on a plant-based diet, but it was really, like, pouring,
Yeah.
and it was beautiful, and I remember when she was, I don't know, about 4 months, maybe actually, no, 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 she was much older than 4 months. She was probably 8 or 9 months, 8 or 9.
Mhm.
I was like, "My milk is really, really dry." It's like something's going on because she's just sucking all day, like, not
Okay.
content. My breasts are not plump anymore, like, I don't know
Mm.
what's going on. I would pump, and will be lucky to pump in both breasts an ounce.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, she was right at the time, like, in her developmental stage where I felt comfortable giving her solid foods, and so I
Mhm.
kinda started rushing to give her solids at this point.
Yeah.
I'm like, "I know you just kinda trying stuff out, but sister friend, you gonna have to really start taking some meals in because
Yeah.
I was not gonna give her any powdered stuff." I I just I was like, "My breast is the best,"
Mm,
and I didn't want her to come from that and then her system have to be like, "Okay, I don't know what this other stuff is," and that be a whole thing.
right.
So we went through the storage and I was blessed to have that storage like
Mm,
stocked up because
yeah.
that's what carried her.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, that's what carried her. And
Mhm.
so and I still nursed her and it was still beautiful. And when she was about 11 months, she actually didn't want to be on the breast anymore. She was like, and I remember I was like, why is she holding her mouth like that? But she had
Mm,
been so used to eating the solid foods at that point
okay.
that she just didn't know how to latch anymore. So I just would pump a little bit, give her whatever I pumped out, and that's how it worked out. And I was getting irritated as well, just being pregnant, like the
Mm,
overstimulation of
okay, yeah.
I'm like, "Ooh, too stimulated."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
but I nursed her, I kept on nursing her, and
Mm,
when I found out when my milk supply was acting crazy, I I just
mm.
knew. I was like, "I'm gonna be pregnant." I was moody, I was horny, I was just like, "I'm gonna be pregnant." And I took that test, and I remember coming in the living room, said, "Kwaku, I am pregnant."
Mm.
And he was like, "Okay." I'm like, "We're doing this." And it felt amazing. It was amazing that I could have another try,
Yeah.
like I'm that type of person where if I don't succeed the first time, I try again until I do.
Mhm.
And then I hit past the expectation. Like that's just my energy. And it felt like a second coming of just, you can do this. Now let's see if you're gonna do this. and trust yourself
Mm,
because I didn't feel like I fully trusted myself the first time. I felt like I was rushing and I was
mm,
performing
mm,
for my mother, and even not that they were expecting me to perform, but that was just the nature of it. Like, I was like, I don't want anybody there. I didn't even
mhm,
want Kwaku there. I was like, I wanted to just be by myself. And then I was like, okay, maybe he should definitely be there for sure.
mhm.
Even if it is by myself, like he should just be somewhere accessible.
Yeah.
And I think that in that moment, that's when I decided I'm gonna free birth.
Mhm.
I was like, I've seen women do it. I was years and years ago, back when I was in that very long relationship and
Okay.
raising the two young ladies. Like, I remember back then following a German woman who has like 11
Okay.
children, and she
Oh,
freed
yeah.
pretty much most of them, actually,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
standing up.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about, Sarah Schmidt.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's free birth, I think all except for her first child. And she just
Yeah.
yeah.
I was like,
And twins as well.
twins as well. And I when I tell you, and that's jumping ahead, we'll get there.
Mhm.
But her story and her disposition,
Mm,
like, followed me all these years.
okay, yeah.
And so when I got pregnant the second time, I said, I'm gonna be free birthing.
Mm,
And of course, all the people are like, well, and what it did was it felt like the universe was conspiring with me
mm,
because I didn't have the finances to afford a midwife. I knew I wasn't going to no hospital. That just wasn't going to happen.
yeah.
Like, that's like a whole emergency situation. But like, I just knew I'll be fine. Like, I'm
Mhm.
going to do this how I want to do this.
Mhm.
And I thought about her, got connected with other mothers, ended up meeting another mother who's also free birthed her first child.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'm gonna do this. And it was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I tried to, like, I talked to the midwife, I talked to, people to just make sure I wasn't going crazy in a way. But then I was
Right.
like, you sound crazy for thinking you going crazy.
Yeah.
Like needing people to validate you.
Right, yeah.
So, of a process that is going to happen whether you want it to or not. Like,
Yeah.
so I did.
Mhm, and so you didn't have any or did you have any prenatal care with the medical system, or you just took care of yourself and just went on like
I
normal, but
did.
yeah?
I did for a little while.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
early on in the beginning, I had sickness again. It was
Okay.
not HG,
Mm,
but probably about 12 weeks, it eased up. I was able to eat and stuff. And so definitely by that time, like, I had ultrasounds. I still want to do, ultrasound things and
mhm.
have pictures, and I did not know the gender,
Okay.
and that was really cool. So it was really just a phenomenal experience to just be in the excitement of it all.
Yeah.
And in that beginning first trimester, early second trimester phase. But when I hit probably after the anatomy appointment, where they were really taking just like all the angles in the ultrasound, that was it. And I
Mhm.
didn't really go to anything in between. It was like, "Oh, you're pregnant." I was like, "Okay, great.
Yeah.
We've confirmed it. Okay, great. You
Mhm.
look great. Okay, great. And your baby's looking great at this point. Okay, great." And that was
Mm,
it. Like, that was all I needed. I took my prenatals. I knew from my last pregnancy how to do my own prenatal care
yeah.
and how to measure my belly and, all the different things in prenatal care. So I just did that on myself. I checked my urine
Mm,
and, made sure it was no proteins or anything, but it wasn't something that I was like, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. Like,
yeah.
I didn't start feeling that way until the end. And that's just really because I was ready to have the baby.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow,
And
okay.
I ended up having a doula. So
Okay.
I have an elder in my community who is a doula. And for a long time, I was like, I'm open to a doula.
Mhm.
I'm open to a person being on this journey with me. And I'm also open to them not being there. but just like supporting me through the process, like up until the point. And so she again she's an elder, and her doula style is what really inspired me to be a doula looking
Okay.
back.
Mhm.
But she basically coached the the worry, the all that stuff. She like therapeutically coached it
Mm.
out of me in Kwaku.
Oh.
And she just cleared. That's what she did. She cleared and made space
Mhm.
for us to have the birth that we wanted to have because, when you're having the baby, things come up.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know my performance mentality and all that stuff was present in Luminai's, journey to her coming Earthside. I didn't know that. But
Mhm.
like it carried over. And so like we worked through those things and we talked about those things. And it was really therapy.
Wow.
And I had chiropractic care as well because I did feel, like misaligned. I always have chiropractic care. I went to the chiropractor just before this, and so so I found it to be super awesome having it being pregnant. Like
Yeah.
it made me feel better. I had some sciatic pain the bigger I got.
Hello, Kiyana. Welcome back to the Free Birthing in Color movement. So, the first time we were recording, my power cut out right in the middle of your story, and then it was out for the whole entire day. So, I wasn't able, and you weren't able to finish the words that you were speaking. So, we've come back together a week later, and now I am here and I am ready to listen to the rest of the story that you were getting into with the birth of your second child. So I will pass the torch to you, and I'm excited to hear what's to come.
Okay, so yes, glad to be back here for round two. So really, I guess I'll pick up with really my second labor, delivery, birth, pregnancy was very centered around me attempting and really trying to, I won't even say trying, I was on a mission to really have my body be prepared. And I felt like with free birthing, that's a very big thing of just like you're not really having medical interventions and things of that nature. So for me, I'm like, okay, I want to make sure that my pelvis is open, my spine is aligned. I was having sciatic nerve pain and throughout the pregnancy of my son, and I see why now because he was a big boy. And so I really just wanted to be open on all fronts. I wanted to be open mentally and spiritually and emotionally with my support team. And they kept me open.
Mm.
And I wanted to be open physically. So that's why I started to do chiropractic and massage. I was stretching a lot. I live here in nature, so I would walk our trails and just really just trying to be open to receive
Mm.
my instructions of how I was going to do this thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'll just jump right into it. I remember the day that um I had got Braxton Hicks contractions with both of my children throughout the pregnancy. So I didn't really think too much of it. But I remember when I could not really get comfortable sleeping through the night,
Mm.
like it got to the point where I woke up. I'm like, oh, and by then I'm like 40 weeks and 4 days,
Okay.
40 weeks, 4 days, or 40 weeks, 5 days. And I was so ready. I was
Mhm.
like, I'm ready for this baby. Every day you truly did feel like a month. Like, when's the baby coming? When's the baby coming?
Yeah.
And I really didn't keep up with my weeks too much because I just wanted people to be like in the question mark. I
Hmm.
wanted them to just like I wanted to be a mystery of like when this child is coming.
Hmm.
And of course, everybody had their guesstimations. I didn't know the gender.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so when I couldn't sleep, I was like, okay, something is different, something is shaking and waking.
Hmm.
And I did my best to just sleep or rest because I knew from my last labor, like rest and sleep and being ease and being
Hmm.
graceful, even when you're in that early space, is so important.
Hmm.
And yeah, so and I didn't want my labor to stall. So I just stayed calm. I was like, I'm not gonna call my doula. I don't want to get everybody all roused up, and it's really nothing.
Mm.
And I remember I pretty much relaxed and relaxed. And then I started to actually feel a contraction. And I was like, oh, that's a real contraction. And I was excited. And then all of a sudden, I got to like some argument about God knows what with my partner. And he and I were arguing about nothing. And I just knew, like, oh, this child is coming.
Okay.
I was like, this is the hormones before the before the thing happens. And I went outside on the trail. I remember recording a video of myself because I was just so in the state of gratitude for this long journey of carrying this baby and
Mm.
all getting through all of the things, doing all the chiropractic stuff. And I remember my whole motto for my pregnancy journey was trust.
Mm.
Like trust everything. Trust in your help, trust in other people wanting to help you and being capable to help you when the time is necessary. Trust that the finances will be taken care of. Like just trust on every single level. So I
Mm.
gained like this radical trust
Mm.
and it completely changed my life. So when I felt that first contraction and I set the tone for my labor and delivery by going out in those woods and like grounding and being barefoot. And I even laid on the ground. It's
Mm.
October at that time, down south. And so it wasn't cold, cold, but I remember having my sweater on and just really getting cozy in my body and cozy and and just everything. And
Mhm.
so I was just in a space I remember being so overwhelmed with gratitude.
Mhm.
And I prayed, but it's so interesting because I don't succumb to like one religion or anything like that. And so it really was just me thanking myself and
Mm.
thanking all every single entity, seen and unseen, just so much gratitude for getting me to that specific point. And
Mhm.
whatever was to come after that point, I was ready for that journey, but I just wanted to pay homage to where I had gotten at that point. So I was
Mhm.
grateful for the argument because I don't know if I would have done that without it. So I remember I did end up calling my doula because at first I wanted her to come like when it was real, like, okay, baby is definitely coming out. You need to come over here. But then I was like, she's been on this journey with me this whole time. And not that I wanted to not rob her of the experience, but I really just wanted to laugh and to
Mm.
be light. And she
Mhm.
has that way about her.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
yeah, I love that. And she's older and she's got that wisdom.
Mhm.
She's great at listening. And so I really wanted that balancing energy. Not to say my partner isn't those things, but he's a man. So it's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
a woman knows. And I remember my house being just kind of like my space was cluttered a little bit. Looking back, it wasn't that cluttered. That was just the nesting thing.
Mhm.
But I was like overwhelmed with the clutter. And I'm having waves.
Mhm.
So I'm riding the waves whenever they come and go, but they weren't consistent. So I was like, I'm just gonna clean up. And I'm big at this point, like waddling. And I was so grateful to just be still able to stand and clean and declutter. When she came, she helped me. And honestly, most of my labor she cleaned.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, she cleaned. And I remember, so within my tribe, within my family and extended family and friends, um, my kind of like my godmother, herbalist godmother
Mhm.
in love that I would call her. She's also a doula
Mhm.
and an herbalist and so many other things. And I told her we had talked about this, but I was telling her, beforehand that I just don't want to be in prodromal labor again. I want to avoid that. Are there any herbs or anything, recommendation wise? And so she told me about blue cohosh.
Mm,
So once labor, actually, I knew that I was in labor, early active. I probably was still in early labor,
mm,
but they were coming ish. They just
mm,
weren't consistent. And
mhm.
so I remember calling around trying to see if somebody had blue cohosh because I was like, I don't want to be in labor if there's a herb I could take, I'll take the herb. And lo and behold, there's an herb shop that used to be where I used to live back
Mhm.
when I was pregnant with Lumina having her home birth, like
Okay.
right there down the street. And
Mhm.
I called him and he's a brother. He's like, "Oh, what's going on? How you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm in labor. You got some blue cohosh." And he's like, and I had called many places where I'm currently at. No one
Mhm.
had any.
Mhm.
And lo and behold, boom, like he had it. She went and got it.
Mhm.
So I was able to continue doing. And by the time she got back, they were here and there, but it wasn't too intense.
Mhm.
And I remember the dosage that was recommended from my godmother. And I didn't even take that much. I took a few drops. And
Mhm.
literally, when I tell you that was like it's like I felt my body's oxytocin kick in, like I felt it.
Wow. Okay.
And yes, and I just was shocked. I was in shock
Mhm.
because I didn't have that experience the first go around. So
Right.
it was like it regulated my hormones out or something and got me on a good rhythm.
Mm.
And I remember having this, I had a cannabis THC tincture from a farmer person I knew.
Mhm.
And that's also a thing within the midwife doula community. That also helps to promote oxytocin in the body as well.
Mhm.
And so I coupled both of those together
Yeah.
with what my intuition told me.
Okay.
Like it was all so intuition based.
Mhm.
And literally, I think I took a few drops of that with the blue cohosh, and that honey had me like in a groove. You get the euphoria feeling where you can relax a little bit, still early labor.
Mm.
And it's like the more I calmed down and I accepted, I found more gratitude. And then because of that, the gratitude, I felt like it was just like a mantra. I started
Mm.
just being thankful for everything. Like
Mm.
I've never experienced that type of worship, so to speak, like
Wow.
of just everything. Like I was thanking creation itself.
Oh
Like
my gosh, I love that.
I was in such a space and all it really did is show me that nature is here to help. If nature
Mhm.
calls you and you
Mhm.
answer that call, I see nothing wrong with that. And
Mhm.
I listened and it was a beautiful experience. And we go through so many like you go to the hospital, they'll give you Pitocin and all the things. And we
Mhm.
don't think of it like, oh, that's a drug.
Yeah.
But like herbs, like I got that from from the herbal shop, you
Yeah.
know? And
Mhm.
it was a magical experience once it got going. And
Mhm.
it went from, let's see, I started the first drop-ish somewhere around noon, give or take 30 minutes to an hour. And literally, it went from 2 to 5 to 6 and in the intensity. But when I tell you, it's like, I don't know if what I had was an orgasmic labor,
Mm.
but I was caught up in the rapture of gratitude.
Wow, I would say if not orgasmic, that sounds very pleasurable, what you're describing.
It was amazing. Like
Mm.
every wave I was
Mm.
looking for. I
Mm.
was ready, like how you jump the waves of the ocean. I
Yeah.
was I was jumping the waves and I felt that joy of
Yeah.
when your body is going up and you don't know if you're gonna get taken under, you don't know if you're gonna float, you're just
Mm.
jumping and you hold your breath just in case.
Yeah.
And like it was just a flow that I was in. Wow.
And every person, which was really just 2 people at the time, was in with me, and they kind of, like, were in their own zone.
Mhm.
So, my partner, he was Kwaku's doing his thing, my doula, she's doing her thing, and everybody's just still doing I remember washing the dishes alongside my doula, like, trying to put them away,
Mhm.
and one would come and I would stop, and I kept doing that until I just couldn't take it anymore, and I
Mhm.
slowly started to make my way from the kitchen to the back of the house, and I just was like, "Oh, this baby's coming right here." I was like, "The
Mm.
baby's coming right here." And that was me being dramatic. The baby was not coming. But I definitely was opening up, like, I felt my hips opening.
Mm.
I felt the more intense, waves coming in to where, okay, now I have to focus, I have to breathe.
Mm.
And I actually, everybody preaches the breathing modalities, but I was like somatic singing.
Oh,
So I
wow.
felt the sounds, like I'll call them primordial sounds coming
Mhm.
from me.
Mhm.
And I had a playlist, I had all the things set up. I didn't want to hear any of it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear these noises that were coming out of
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And it's so beautiful that you say that because it's opening the throat chakra. And the more that you open the throat, the more you're opening your cervix. So you were just in that beautiful flow and connection. So, yeah, hearing this, I'm just like, wow, this pleasure that you're feeling, this joy, this gratitude that you're feeling, and then expressing it through your voice and feeling these emotions and feeling this all through your body. I'm just like, oh my gosh, that sounds so incredible. It sounds
it was
so cool.
it was so cool, and, like, I didn't want anybody there, and I remember, like, my daughter was here, and at the time, she wasn't walking, she would pull up on things, walk along things, but she was still very much crawling,
Hmm.
and my mother-in-law was due to come. She doesn't stay too far, but she was due to come to pick her up so that I can be in my zone, and that was our plan. And I remember when I was being dramatic in the kitchen, like, "Oh, the baby's coming. Oh, the baby's coming." And I'm like, "Quick, go get in the house." And I'm just like, "The baby's coming." And the baby's not coming. But like she came in to grab Lumini
Mm,
and I wanted her to stay.
okay.
So I rode with that, and that wasn't part of my plan, but I was
Hmm.
like, "Just stay, the baby's coming, I guess you'll see the baby come."
Hmm.
And she was able to get footage,
Oh,
and I was so happy that she was there to get that footage of
yeah.
just me going through this primordial sound
Mm,
and bending of the knees and grunts and the whole thing. Because 'cause I'm like, I was so locked in that
hmm.
I don't remember, of course, I'm not seeing myself, like,
Yeah.
but I was so locked in and she was able to capture that, and my baby girl was there and she was
Mm,
able to see me, labor for a little while, and I remember once I made it to the back into
hmm.
our bedroom that, we had shower curtains down where, I'm like, "I don't want it to be a big mess," and da 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 da. And I got up there and I didn't wanna check my cervix, which I later found out that wasn't gonna happen anyway because I had a big old belly in the front. That's the other part, and it wasn't happening. And I remember Kwaku was on the bed, and I just was like, just look down there, see if you see anything."
Mm.
And I'm doing all the things, I'm, like, in the zone, locked in. And he's like, it's just open." He's like, "It's just open. It's just black and open." And
He's
so
looking into the portal.
literally. It was so wild. And my daughter, she gets on the bed, she's such a curious mind. And even when she was that young, she gets on the bed, she crawls up under in
Mm.
between my legs, and she goes like this. She's looking in there with him. And then
Aw.
I'm like, "Okay, y'all move now." And it was just magical, and eventually they left. I continued to do my thing, and I will say that before I made it to the room, actually, I don't know, I was eating pasta. So we
Mm.
have a garden, and there were some leftover eggplants. It was like the last little bit of eggplants out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just, this is nature saying, go ahead and eat those eggplants now.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not like eggplants. I really don't like eggplants that much. I'll eat them
Okay.
for the nourishment. But yeah, he made me some fried eggplant and some pasta, and I ate
Mm-hmm.
that. And I was so happy that, I was able just to eat, and I'm eating and I'm like
Mm-hmm.
fueling. I'm just having a good time, really. I'm like, I'm just gonna have a good time because this is just what it is.
Yeah.
And right when I remember being rubbed, my doula was rubbing me because I was just like, okay, I'm losing my focus, but then I would hop back into gratitude. I'd be like, every wave, I was just like, thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you for the experience. Thank you for the food. Thank you. I'm just thanking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And right when I realized that the baby wasn't coming, there was a part of me of like, oh, why did you even choose to do this? Like, why, it's that border
Mm-hmm.
and that wall, that runner's wall. And I was just like, I really don't know why I chose to do this, but I'm doing it.
I'm in
And
it
I just,
now.
and we in it. And
Yeah.
I was like, I'm at home chilling. My doula was there. I could feel slightly her wanting the baby to come as well. She's not checking my cervix or anything like that. But once I checked on the baby's heart rate and with my little Doppler that I had, I checked the baby's heart. Baby was fine. And I could feel her relax.
Mm.
And then we hit this rest period. It was like, okay, baby's not here. We are prepared. And now I'm tired. So I just relaxed, and that was intuition too. I was like, I'm just
Mhm.
gonna rest. If I go to
Mhm.
sleep, I'm gonna lay down and go to sleep.
Mm.
Like I'd have made some progress. So I accepted that. And right before my mother-in-law left, I think it was her, somebody cut on the music, one of my playlists, mindfulness and shifting. That's
Mhm.
what it's called, mindfulness and shifting. And it calms me down. And I laid on the floor with my pregnancy pillow.
Mm.
My doula, she was just in there humming, and she's also a minister, so she's doing her praise
Oh.
dance, and she's just holding space,
Mhm.
giving gratitude. And I was just laying there and I was just tired. I was
Mm.
tired and I was like, okay, hours have passed. It's getting dark. I can
Mm.
feel the sun coming down. I think I just go to sleep. And I love that there was a trust. There was a trust and an inner knowing between all of us
Yeah.
that this was like God's work. Like this was
Mm.
divine work.
Mhm.
And there was nothing to fear. There was nothing to have anxiety about. It was just allowing things to be. And then that trust came back in like a storm. And it was
Mm.
like I remembered all of the trust of every single thing that I had went through my pregnancy. And from everything, and my biggest fear was my money situation, because I'm like, I'm not working, quote unquote. Like,
Mhm.
how am I going to pay for chiropractics? How am I going to pay? Like, I'm paying out of pocket. How am I going
Mhm.
to do everything? It's crazy how money rules us in such ways. But it was like once that left the building, this other thing checked in of like, okay, now are you going to trust?
Mm.
Now are
Yeah.
you back? You going to trust me now? Okay, Kiyana,
Mm.
let's trust us. And I calmed down. And it's like when you get that calm, that's why I feel like the rest period is so important. And I see it like the rest period is where the oxytocin flushes through again.
Mm. Yeah.
It's like like a wave of just calm. And the contractions really weren't getting more intense. They were
Mhm.
just, I'm just like, they're just intense. Like if you've ever had dry needling therapy, like it's not more intense. They're still just doing the same thing, but
Okay.
like, you think anyway. So I remember because with Blue Cohosh, you take it on a certain like schedule.
Okay.
And I hadn't taken it anymore. I was just like, no, no, no. I'm just gonna sit here. I'm gonna rest. So I rested.
Mm.
And I laid on that floor, girl, and threw up.
Yeah.
It was throwing up everywhere. And my doula just like, oh, just let it out. I'll clean it. She was so calm, and I was just
Mhm.
like projectile vomiting everywhere. The pillow, my partner was so happy I threw that pillow away. It was throw up. It was so much throw up, and because it was all the food, right?
Mhm.
But my old midwife, she used to be like, once you feel like you either got to go to the bathroom or you're throwing up, the baby is coming.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I just I was just throwing up, and I was so happy to throw. I was thanking gratitude. I was just in gratitude. I was like, oh, thank you for throwing. And I get up, and I was like laying there in the throw up.
Mm.
And I knew they needed to clean it up. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get up now. So I'm slowly getting hands and knees, getting up. The bathroom's right across the way. I'm walking to the bathroom. And I'm like, I gotta get in the shower because I don't want just to be having throw up everywhere on me. So I asked, I don't know if I even asked, but my waters had been breaking the whole time. Like I had so much water breaking. It
Mhm.
was just floods of water, just the whole laboring process up until this point, which while I'm thinking it back, that was probably transition.
Okay.
Um, because all of a sudden it got exponentially like woof, woof.
Yes.
I was like, okay. I was like, I
Mhm.
gotta get in the zone now. And the
Mhm.
music cut off. I hopped in that shower. I did not get in the bathtub. Because just my waters had broken, and I was like, I just stand,
Mhm.
um, which worked out because I really could not sit down. Like the
Mhm.
whole time I'm laboring, just to give you an idea, I did not sit down like
Okay.
at all. I didn't sit on a ball. I did not sit down. Everything was either I'm on my knees or I'm laying on my side, which is where I was resting, or I'm walking around. But
Mhm.
everything was standing up. And I was just like, so tired of standing up. My butt cheeks were so sore. And I got in that shower, and heavenly heaven, it just was hitting me. I put that water, it was so hot. And I was just saying, baby down, baby out, baby
Mm.
down, baby out. And I was saying it for 30 minutes straight.
Wow.
Baby
Oh God.
down, uh-oh. Baby down, baby out. And literally, I was talking to the child. I'm like talking to my baby. I'm like, come on, like mama wants you to come. I want you to come down. I want you to come out because, ooh, I'm tired. My butt is hurting. And literally, I told Kwaku, I said, can you set me a timer for 5 minutes? And he did. I was like, in 5 minutes, I'm gonna get out because I feel like I've been here forever. I
Mm.
got out, and I just felt the bowling ball sensation coming in
Mm.
my butt.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. I was like, I'm almost there. But again, I had just been standing up, and I was still standing up. And I was like, come here, come here. I'm talking real low at this point. The lights are out, it's dark. I'm like, come here. He's like, well, I was like, I want you to look because my mucus plug had just came out.
Mm.
And I was like, I want you to look. I was like, you see anything? And he was like, again, it's open and stuff. But he saw the sack. So like a lot of the sack was hanging out.
Yeah.
And he's looking, and he's like, oh, it looks like the sack is just hanging out of you. He's like, you want me to do anything? I was like, no, just leave it. Don't touch it. Just leave it. And I remember he he screamed for my doula, and she's like, yes. She's in the kitchen. He's like, can you give me a gin? Or just actually, no, just give me some raw ginger. And I was like, you okay? And
Mm.
I'm in my zone, like I'm breathing and I'm like calm, but I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, I just think I gotta throw up. I said, well, throw up in the towel. I'm like, cleanliness. I'm like, throw up in the towel. And then we can just take it out. And then another wave comes. And then it's so wild. She's looking for the ginger, looking for the ginger. And then she can't find the ginger. It's plenty of ginger there, but she can't find it. And literally, I started moaning like a different moan.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, my portal's really, really opening now. So baby's coming down and baby's coming out. Oh, they are in there now. That's that Costa Rica environment. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. But yeah, so baby was coming down and out, and the sack was coming down, so baby was still in the sack.
Yeah.
And literally, Kwaku said, "Oh my gosh, like I see his head." My doula is nowhere in the vicinity. Okay,
Yeah.
she's nowhere in the vicinity. But the baby's head is coming down, and Kwaku's looking at it, and he said, Ethereal, which is my son's name. He's like, his head, we didn't have a name back then, but
Yeah.
his head was in the call.
Oh,
And so he
wow.
said he was just asleep like this, like in the call.
Oh.
And I knew I don't push, I just breathe and listen. And so I was breathing, my body was naturally grunting and pushing and doing all the things. And I just remember that if I could get my butt cheeks to relax, that he would come out.
Okay.
I had to relax my butthole, my butt, everything back there needs to be like totally like gravity, like I'm not even holding myself. So I
Yeah.
held my hands on the front of the sink, the kitchen, not the kitchen, but the bathroom sink.
Yeah.
I kind of lifted my body up to where my feet, like the pressure were off my feet.
Okay. Yeah.
And my butt just dropped and he came on out. And I bent my
Oh.
legs. I was looking at myself in the mirror. I was coaching
Oh.
myself. And I was just like, I was looking in my eyeballs. And it's like I saw another space of me. And I was like locked into her. And it was just like this inner knowing, inner trust, inner everything. And I was like, this baby is coming. And he just
Wow.
dropped out. And my partner, he catches him like a football. And he was like, oh baby, oh baby. And then he's holding, he was like, it's a baby. And it's just so amazing. And then my placenta fell right out after that. Like it just slipped right on. He came, placenta came. And I remember like, woo. I was like, woo, that was a great feeling. And I picked him. I was like, give me the baby. Because he, had his lungs weren't clear. So he's coughing. I just let him, clear it himself.
Yeah.
Cleared as much. And I grab him and I'm like, get the push thing. So my doula, she's like, oh, because she didn't see the baby come out, but she just walks back in and she's like, oh my God, it's a baby. And my old midwife is on the phone because I wanted her to give her a ring so that she can know, so that she can come and check up on the baby and stuff after he was there. And I remember just like this feeling of just accomplishment. And I like yanked my placenta up, like threw it over my shoulder and stuff. And I like walked my baby out of the bathroom across the hall into the room and laid down.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Wow, that's incredible. That's so incredible.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
Thank
I
you.
just love how you were saying you were staring yourself in the eye and just like seeing this different version of who you were and who you are. And then you just did it. And oh wow, that's so amazing and so beautiful.
It's so wild because who I locked into, whatever she was, I've been pursuing her ever since. Like he really, each of them did something different to me.
Yeah.
After having them.
Yeah.
Like my daughter taught me patience. She
Okay.
taught me patience in a whole different way. Like he taught me trust. And it's really patience with myself
Yeah.
and trust with myself. And I've just been traveling this journey of patience and trust really since they were born. And that inspired me. What I locked into kind of gave me a glimpse into who I was and who I am destined to be. And I remember thinking not soon after that, or probably a little bit after that, I was like, "Oh, I have to help women. I have to help women do this."
Mm.
And my doula is not a free birthing doula. Like, she trusted me wholeheartedly. And she even talked to me after the fact and told me how it was such a Damascus road for her to travel. Like, getting to the point where she trusted me, trusted my body,
Right.
and then thus trusting herself to know, like, this is what we're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I became a doula after that.
Sorry, the huge beetle
I just love
attacking.
you, like,
That's so beautiful to hear though, that yeah, that it spurred that in her and then also spurred that in you to want to allow and see women in this beautiful state of being that you were in and witnessing them in
yeah.
that way. And that's like that's why I love doing the work that I do and I support women because just seeing a woman be wild and in complete trust of her body and in this place of being that she isn't normally in her everyday life is like it's incredible. It's a piece of magic. It's witnessing a miracle and it's just so like I want all women to feel that all of the time, you know, and guide them into that so that every woman can step into that place of power. Yeah.
It's really powerful. And I
Mhm.
appreciate the work that you're doing because more women of color need to hear more women of color talk about this,
Yes.
because
Yes, yes,
it's
yes.
not, it's more than just what we've been taught and conditioned to think that it is.
Mhm.
And I feel like there is an agenda for women of color to not experience this. That was a whole nother thing, like just a whole nother thing.
Mhm.
And even the person who, like, who my chiropractor, who was just so on my side,
Yeah.
when I told her I was having a free birth, she made it a point
Mm.
to support me. But she's a
Oh,
white woman.
okay.
And she's wild and free, but her doing that gave me the umph,
Mm.
not that I needed it, but it gave me
Yeah.
umph. And then thus after that, like, hearing about other women do it, like, there was a friend of mine who had done it, like, 2 weeks before I gave birth. We've been
Mhm.
supporting each other. She free birthed, and
Mm.
hers was wild and free, and it didn't look
Mm.
anything like mine, but
Yeah.
it was still wild and free,
Yeah.
and it's so revolutionary. So I'm just grateful to have
Mm.
had that experience. I see no other way to birth.
Mhm.
Like, of course, emergencies are what they are, but that's not the primary, that shouldn't be the primary narrative. Like,
Mhm.
that's not the
And
norm.
exactly. And the norm is like the experience that you had, how you said it was so pleasurable and you were in to me, it sounds like you were in full acceptance of everything that was happening, and that's why it just moved so smoothly with every sensation. You were like, "Yes, I'm grateful for this. This is beautiful." You know, even throwing up, how you're grateful for that because it's just like you have that acceptance, you have that knowing. Your mindset was just so beautifully tuned into this is meant to happen. This is meant to be so I can bring my baby through in this beautifully gentle way. And it was such an easeful, pleasurable experience. And women need to hear that. You know, women need to hear these stories. Yes, sometimes women can have very intense birth experiences, or it can be full of a lot of, actual pain with the intensity, but also it can be very pleasurable and it can be full of acceptance and it can just be what it is. And you can, feel that evoking of joy and love and presence and pleasure in that birth experience if you want it to happen too. So it's yeah, it's like you're saying these stories are so important, especially to hear them from women of color, that they don't have to fear birth, that they can know that birth can be pleasurable, birth can be beautiful, birth can be safe, birth can be done gently at home with your partner, with a support person, with whomever you choose to be there with you to witness. And you can still be in full control and have such a beautiful experience bringing your child into this world.
Indeed, indeed. I
Yeah.
remember, I know we're wrapping up, but I remember another free birthing mother who I follow on Instagram. I forget her name. She always has green wigs on or something.
Oh, cool.
And she free births her children, And one of her mantras, she's also a doula now, but one of her mantras is, "This feels so good." Like,
Mm.
with every pressure wave, with every contraction, whatever you wanna call it, surge, like, it
Yep.
feels so good, but saying it, and I
Yeah.
love how you talked about that earlier with the throat chakra and opening of both portals, because it's like when you invoke that, it innately connects to your womb space, like,
Yep.
"Oh, this feels good to me, thank you.
Yep.
This is amazing." I remember saying that in labor, like, "Oh, this is exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I need. Oh, this
Mm-hmm.
is perfect." And and when I first was saying it during the contractions, I felt very weird,
Yep.
very like, but who cares? Like,
Yeah.
we
Yep.
could say all these other things. Yes, it feels amazing. And even if it doesn't feel amazing, the more I said it, the
Yeah.
more it began to register in my brain that this
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable thing is amazing for me and good
Yep.
for me. So
Exactly.
it's just it's really it's power. It's so much power in the free birthing experience. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm so
Mm-hmm.
grateful that I got to experience it
Mm-hmm.
this life. And if I am to have children, later on, I'm definitely like, yes, we are going to do this, and
Yeah.
we will continue to do this as we see fit,
Mm-hmm.
because period.
Yeah, because now you've seen it. It's like once you've been opened up to this really beautiful way of being, this way that your body is meant to be, bringing your children into this way, like you can't go back. It's like once you've seen it, you can't unsee it, you know?
Yeah.
So it changes your life. It changes the way that you walk around in the world. It changes the way you think. It changes the way you act. It changes everything about you, you know? It's like you live how you birth how you live. And it's like, it really is a true testament. All of the stories that I have heard of these women going through, ones that have birth experiences that are full of trauma, or ones that just start their birth experiences right off the bat, doing it free of the system. There's always threads in how they viewed themselves as women, how they were brought up, how they stepped into their power, how they stopped listening to all this conditioning and they changed what they wanted. They created what it was that they wanted in their lives. And birth is just so powerful. It's more powerful, one of the most powerful energies, because it's the energy of creation. It is
Hmm.
the primordial energy that is there.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that we as women get to experience this every month cyclically in our wombs through that life, death, rebirth cycle of our blood, and then through the beautiful cycle of 40 weeks, bringing children into this world and holding life within the womb. um yeah, it's incredible. It's so incredible. And yeah, like you were saying before, you can, like, the birth portal is the portal of instant manifestation. Like you were saying, even if the sensations weren't feeling that great at the time, you were still saying, this is amazing, this is for me. And then it's like that instant manifestation happens where it's like, oh, okay, get everything in alignment, and boom, you're having these amazing feelings. You're calling that in. You're instantly creating that magic for yourself right there. It's just,
Yeah.
it
It's
blows my mind. It so
it's
blows my mind.
it's really mind blowing. It really is. And even my partner, he's so radical now. He like he's like, and I have to agree and I support him, because he's like, when you give birth in a hospital setting or with anybody else around that is going to that you're relying on to bring your baby forth,
Mm.
like that, even that mentality, you've given your power away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, like we in America, especially Black women in America, like, we just, like, a lot of the times go to the hospital, expect someone to get our baby out. Like, okay, I'm here, I'm ready for y'all to do everything you need to do. Like, and that
Mm-hmm.
mentality of not working to get this power, we've thus given this power away. And I just knew I wanted to I tasted it a little bit with my first birth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh," because I just tuned everybody out.
Yeah.
She came, like, it was no anything, like, I mean, us outside of them saying, "Can you put your leg in this way?" I could have given a damn if they were in the room or not. So I
Mm-hmm.
tasted what it felt like to be in that power.
Yeah.
But this go around, it was like I had the power and I realized I was my power.
Mm.
It's me. I was looking for me.
Mhm.
And now it's like this whole domino effect of love and acceptance and trust in everything that I do has stemmed from it. It's residual.
Mm.
It's been happening. I started free bleeding and it's
Mm.
just been it's been so empowering and it made
Mm.
me realize like, oh, like what else have they been lying to me or somebody has been conditioning and lying to me about?
Yeah.
Like, I would like my power back in that, every single thing. Because
Totally.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah. Even
Wow.
trauma, like take that power back too. Like it's a journey. Life has been a journey. It's a
Mm.
journey. So I'm
Mm.
just journeying. I'm grateful to you.
Mm.
Grateful for you allowing me to speak on your platform.
Mm.
And yeah.
Oh, thank you. And I'm grateful for you as well because like I said, hearing these stories are so important. Hearing your story is so important. And I wouldn't have this platform because I don't have children. So it's not me sharing my birth stories or my mothering journeys or, how I went from this birth to this birth to this birth. It's all the stories of other women that I look up to, that I look like, that I am inspired by, that I'm, grateful to hear the words that they speak and want to celebrate them in that. So you're part of that. So I'm grateful for you and all the other mothers that share with me and speak with me because it's us co-creating this beautiful space so that other women that are still kind of unsure and still afraid to tap in and take their power back can hear this and see this and witness this and then say, "Oh, I can do that too. She can do it and
Mhm,
I can do it." So,
mhm,
yeah, it's a co-created journey and it just fills my heart with so much joy to be able to hear such lovely stories of power and hear women, like you, hear your story of birthing in pleasure and in power. It's just like, wow, okay, anything is possible in birth if you really choose it and if you create
mhm.
it. And that's what you did with yours. And it's, yeah, it's incredible.
Yes, indeed.
Mhm. Mm. One thing that I did want to ask you before you leave was how was your breastfeeding journey with this second babe?
Oh, breastfeeding was great.
Yeah.
I felt like a pro, but he's really the pro. I mean, he took to the breast. He likes to eat anyway, though.
Okay.
And he was pretty big coming out.
Yeah.
So something told me that, and I was eating a lot when I was pregnant. And I just think it's
Mhm.
so funny the similarities of what us women experience while we're pregnant and then
Mhm.
seeing the manifestation of it afterwards through
Mhm.
habits or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he did very good. He latched on very nicely. I also was very experienced myself by
Mm.
then. I nursed throughout my pregnancy with him and
Mm.
before.
Okay.
And so I just have not stopped nursing for years now.
Okay.
It's like 2+ years now. It feels like, yeah, it's almost 2 years, almost
Okay.
2 years I've been nursing, but
Yeah.
um yeah, I'll continue to nurse him for as long as he'd like, up until 2, and
Mm.
then mom is pulling her mom card,
Okay.
but, just getting my space back, but for
Yeah.
now, he does so well.
Mm.
My first, she did well as well. So the breastfeeding thing hasn't been too much of an issue, actually.
Mhm.
Um, Much easier than the first for sure, but, um, yeah.
Wonderful. Oh, that's so nice to hear. And this placenta, what did you do to it? Because you said it came out kind of right away, and then you just popped it on your shoulder, got cozy in bed. Did you end up like cutting or burning the cord or leaving it attached? How did you honor that
Well,
part?
after I carried him and the placenta in the room, I I it's so wild. Part of me wishes that I would like have looked at it more.
Mm.
I do kind of wish I would have looked at it more.
Okay.
But I saved it and what did I do? And the last doula who did my placenta encapsulation, she got it. So I have
Okay.
two different. I still have some of my previous placenta, but both of them were encapsulated.
Okay.
And I haven't actually taken it, and I'm glad you brought
Ah,
that up because now I wanna take some just
okay.
to just to see, but I've actually been giving them away. People like them. It's
You've been
like
giving your placenta things away to people.
yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
I just think it's really cool to support folks who want to try
Okay.
and find medicinal uses out of it. I
Mm,
met one woman in Miami or something, and she was telling me about her stem cell therapy journey and all the
mm,
things, and I was telling her about my placenta
mhm,
and how I love it and all the things and
mm.
how I really, especially with my first, oh, that placenta was thick. It was thick and big. Woo! But how the energy, she was telling me that she took both of them. I sent her both of them and she took it and she was telling me she had the most energy she's ever had in
Wow.
years. She's like in her
Wow.
40s, maybe knocking 50,
Yeah.
but she said she took it and she felt amazing to
Wow,
the point
okay.
of like she was like, "I don't know if I'm supposed to feel this amazing." She was like, "So I don't know if this is anxiety or if this is just energy." And
Yeah.
I was telling her, "Well, which one did you take?" And I was telling her that each child's placenta
Mm,
is different.
mhm.
So my first, how I was during that pregnancy is how she felt.
Okay, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
then how I was with my second is how she felt. So
Okay.
I'm like, maybe cut back down on luminize and try ethereals out, bring it back a little bit, see how you feel. So
Mhm.
I just think it's been so cool, but I haven't taken his, so I might take it.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, cool. Oh, your stories are just so, so beautiful, and I'm so grateful to have spoken with you and that we got to find the time to finish the second half of the story. It's, yeah, so powerful. And the last thing that I'd love to ask you before we leave is how can women get in contact with you if they want to get a little bit more in depth about your birth stories and all of that beautiful information? Would you care to
Yes,
leave it?
absolutely. So I'll say two ways to reach out to me. One would be Instagram.
Mhm.
So my Instagram is K Queen underscore TUP tup. So that's KQUEEN underscore TUP. And tup is short for the unspoken poet. I do poetry and a lot of other things, but
Ah, okay.
um so that's my Instagram route. And you probably also might see up there my video, my a little snippet of my journey with ethereal. And yes, an email. Feel free to please email me.
Mm.
That will be K Fields, KFIELDS 11 at hotmail.com. So kfields11 at hotmail.com. Yes, I still have a hotmail.
I do too. I have Hotmail. I love it.
Yeah, now it's
Uh,
Outlook, but to each his
yeah.
own. So that's how they can
Uh,
reach me.
Beautiful. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. It was, yeah, just so, so great. I'm so grateful to have spoken with you and to have these stories be shared. And yeah, this is just so lovely to hear of, especially this beautiful, pleasurable birth experience. And I'm so excited for other women to hear this and to know that this is possible and that they can create that in their birth journey as well.
Indeed. Well, I'm here. I'm
Mm.
here. Please, use me, use my stories, use the tools.
Mhm.
DM me. I will respond to you. I can call you. We can talk on the phone. I stay at home as a mother, so I am all about that life.
Thank you so much, women, for listening to this latest episode of the Free Birthing in Color movement. If you want to continue supporting this movement and all that comes with it, please give a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Like the videos on YouTube and share this episode with some of your friends. As reciprocity for the work that I'm doing and the content that I'm creating, it only takes 2 minutes to show your support through a 5-star rating, a small written review, and a share. If you want to give a monetary donation to help with the back end costs of keeping everything that is happening within this movement going, you can send your donations through PayPal via the link in the show notes. And again, as reciprocity for the work that I'm doing and creating, I'm so grateful when those donations come through. I have many other avenues of work that I've created, such as Portals of Wisdom, which are educational guidebooks for women to reclaim and remember their personal bodily sovereignty. I have one-to-one activation sessions and one-to-one or group mentorship opportunities, as well as an amazing course called Cyclical Woman that is a deep dive into the natural cycles of Mother Earth and connecting into your internal rhythms in relation to where Mother Earth is at any given moment. And lastly, I want to mention again the Free Birthing in Color community. It is open for enrollment, so please, if you want to create a deeper sense of connection to myself and other women navigating the same phase of life that you're in, please, please, please come and join us, and let's create something truly beautiful in there. All information can be found within the show notes below, or you can go to primalwomanportal.com and you'll find everything that you need. I'll see you in the next episode.